Hello, I am J.E. Prazzi, the writer of speculative fiction and author of the Malfunction Trilogy, the Raven Tree Society, and so much more. I'm here today to continue my series on the Malfunction Trilogy in celebration of the completion of this trilogy with Connection, which comes out on the 23rd. So I am addressing a new question today. The question I have is from E.B. Dawson, and that is, how does the series build on the science fiction that has come before it? This is a great question. I think when I was younger, I believed myself wrongly to not be a fan of science fiction. And I think that's mostly because there are specific tropes that I don't enjoy. I still am not a huge fan of science fantasy or of space opera. I definitely see how they can be done well at times, but it's not my go-to genre for sure. In fact, what I used to go to first and foremost, and is still kind of my comfort read, are classics. So when I decided I wanted to dig more into the science fiction genre, and when I realized how many of the stories that I truly loved were science fiction, the first thing I did is picked up some classic science fiction, which started with H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. And the more I looked, the more I realized how many incredible stories, which I absolutely adored, could and should probably be defined as science fiction. So, of course, this is a biopunk, cyberpunk. I define it as biopunk dystopian because it does really strongly play off of that dystopian genre. But because it's cyberpunk and biopunk, there are definitely roots of gothic horror in these. And of course, if you ask pretty much any cyberpunk author, Frankenstein is a huge inspiration. So Frankenstein is definitely a science fiction, and it is probably in many ways the start of the genre, although I'm sure you could go back and find older works that you could point to as well. So Frankenstein, of course, follows a monster which is brought back to life with electricity and other sciences, and this monster experiences, from the first time he opens his eyes, a lack of love and kind of being shunned by the world. So that was definitely an inspiration for me in wondering what would happen to Frankenstein's monster if he had been shown love. And we do see some parts in the story where he's shown that love and then it's taken away from him again. And I definitely played off of that with my main character, Bass, who is a cyborg and genetically modified, and he kind of plays with that piece back together trope. So that's definitely an inspiration, something that it's built on. I definitely pulled a lot from the cyberpunk genre, more so from the biopunk, I think, but cyberpunk is a little bit more heavily secured in people's imagination. And even though this definitely isn't the cyberpunk aesthetic with neon lights and big cityscapes and noir, it definitely plays with that crossing of the human and the technological. So of course cyborgs, which I used to dislike that trope until I saw how it could really be used, less on the robot side and more on the human side, and playing with that line a little bit to see how far can you go until you cross over. So there's definitely some kind of fun philosophy in there, which has been pulled, of course, from plenty of stuff in the cyberpunk genre that you could look into. And so those are some of the science fiction works that have come before me and that I am working on and working with, but I'm definitely looking to innovate and to move past some of the barriers and boundaries of those as well. So if you are enjoying this series and you want to know more, be sure to subscribe and like and follow along as I continue exploring this world. Also check out my website where you can find my newsletter as well as multiple freebies, free audiobook, and much more. Thank you so much for following me along this journey so far. I'll see you guys next time.